Following the escalating insecurity, abductions, and relentless assaults facing residents of Abuja by bandits, the Commissioner for Police Complaints in the Federal Capital Territory, the FCT, Dalhatu Ezekiel, has urged the federal government to declare a state of emergency in the nation's capital city. Dalhatu made the call during a press briefing in Abuja while lamenting the increased incidents of kidnappings, armed robberies, and violent attacks which have heightened anxiety and fear among residents of Abuja communities.
He appealed to the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, to consider suspending any ongoing projects, if necessary, in order to tackle this crucial issue that directly impacts the lives of FCT residents, while also calling for the establishment of a civilian joint task force as an alternative approach to combat insecurity in rural areas. Joining us this morning is Tony Ofoyetan. He's the Director General, International Institute for Professional Security. Good morning, and thanks for joining us, Mr. Ofoyetan.
Good morning. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. I would start with asking, for those who are calling for, we just heard now of a new task force, to tackle these, spaces of insecurity. Would you say that that's maybe what, Nigeria needs? They need more hands, they need a new security agency, they need a new task force, and some of all of that. Is that what Nigeria currently needs, or does the Nigerian government just needs to be serious, have the political will to actually, fix these issues that we're having with kidnapping and with insecurity, even in the FCT?
Okay, thank you for having me once again. And I want to say that, what is happening in Nigeria is, especially in Abuja, rather, it's a very, big concern to an average Nigerian, more so when it is the Federal Capital Territory of the nation. Having said so, I've actually looked at some of the suggestions that have been made at the call for new security agencies or a committee or intervention. Of course, talking about also trying to empower the police and some security agencies and the like. There is no singular solution to our security challenges. There are different approaches and different solutions, all coming together make a whole that can become a veritable solution. But I think the problem is not really with the solution. The problem is with the players as it is now. Now, why I'm saying that is, if you look at what is happening in Abuja, why is Abuja a major target for kidnapping? Because Abuja is seen as, if in quote, it's seen as the money bag of the nation, where you have even civil servants that are billionaires. That is one aspect of it. Then, of course, what I expect at that point in time is the security agencies, especially DSS now, DSS and all the intelligence agency department in all the security agencies have a chunk of the work to do as it is. It's more of intelligence work than even application of force or what you call the kinetic approach. Because now, who are these kidnappers? Where are they staying? Who are those that are backing them? Where do they keep the kidnapped victims? And of course, how do they receive the ransom? How do they move the ransom? At what point in time in all this trajectory has the security agencies, through their intelligence network, been able to nab any of them in the bud? Or not? You see, these are things that are major concern to some of us. It's not just, of course, there are crimes and criminalities all over the world, even in US and other. But the difference is that they are not saying you cannot commit crime, but you most likely will be caught. Now look at Lagos State. I want to use Lagos State as a very good example. It's not as if there are no kidnappers in Lagos State, but Lagos State has been able to establish a tradition. If you kidnap anybody in Lagos State, if the government is aware, the government takes it as if it is it's a very big VIP that has been kidnapped. You see, they come all out. Maybe because they want to protect the metropolitan nature of Lagos State. They come all out. Even if you want ransom, the government can go to the extent of paying the ransom, but ensure that you don't live to spend the ransom. But the first thing is get the victim out of that cage. Now, That has also sent, signal to the kidnappers to the extent that they know that the government of Lagos State will not take it lightly. What is the government in Abuja doing? Government in Abuja, there are two powers in Abuja, the FCT power and the federal power. Don't forget that, FCT is more or less like a baby under the federal government. So they have these two mites together. Why are they not tracing those that are collecting this ransom? We have had severally in this country where even security agents, security professionals and personnel were involved in kidnapping. So at the end of the day, you look at all these variables, put them on the table. Why is kidnapping now becoming a very big business in Abuja? Because normally kidnapping is either for ransom or for ritual. Now for Abuja, we may downplay the aspect of the ritual part of it for in Abuja metropolis. But ransom, why is it that DSS is not taking it as a major project? When DSS takes it as a major project, the whole story will change. But as it is now, maybe because one of the lawmakers has not been kidnapped, or one of the family member of the VIP has not been kidnapped, and as far as they are concerned, it's okay. The government has to take it as a major project. That is the main thing. It's not forming new, new security agencies or departments or body and the like. That would just, for me, it's basically for the purpose of attending to kidnapping. It's too pedestrian, as grave as it is now. The security agencies in Abuja are more than enough to nip this in the bud, clear off all these things. Don't forget that what they do is kidnapping. It could either be because of those that are greedy or kidnapping for terrorism financing. Now, if it's for terrorism financing or if it's merely for greed or criminality, it is the DSS that can answer that question. Those families that have been kidnapped, you can get information from them. Those that are to pay ransom, you can get information from them. Abuja is not so big that you cannot police Abuja. Most of the kidnapping are happening within the suburb of Abuja. So what do? You put your searchlight there. You ensure that at this point in time, Abuja is surrounded by about 8 states. So it's more or less like, it's like about 8 different states. The neighboring states and neighboring borders are escape routes. So I expect that DSS, with the police involvement, especially the DSS and the police, should come all out.
Mr. Ofoyetan.
Don't believe or assume that because it's civilians, so be it.
Mr. Ofoyetan, you've raised some very valid points. You've talked about how you wonder why they're not making it a major project. And you've also said that we have, from what you're saying, if I hear you correctly, we have adequate manpower to be able to solve the insecurity challenge that the FCT is facing. Let's talk about technology as well. Do we have the necessary technology? And what was the role of the NIN SIM integration in the conversation? I believe you also heard the perspective of Isa Pantami regarding the NIN SIM status. So do we have enough technology? And how can we really hold the government to account to ensure that they do the needful and guarantee the safety and security of Nigerian citizens?
Well, I'm sorry to say, not just this government, even the government before now, there has been high level of laziness, professional laziness on the part of players, some of our players in the government. Now, why am I saying that? Excuse me. When you look at the application of technology in this country, you will see that until it involves a VIP, it is only then you will now see that we have more than enough facilities to be able to attend some of the security challenges we have. But the person that is going to operate those machines is either lazy, or alternatively, the person that is going to approve the fund for the operation is looking at how much is the operation will involve, what is the cost-benefit analysis to him as a person or to them as a group at the end of the day. So if it is not something that is going to bring money to us at the end of the day, why should we bring all our arsenal? Why should we bring out all our machineries and the like? Nigeria, we have drones in this country. We have jet fighters in this country. We have even Tucano and all those stuff in this country. Technology, it's not as if we are bereaved of technology. but we are bereaved of one political will. We are bereaved of, value to human lives. Now, these are major things at the end of the day. Corruption, integrity, vis-a-vis corruption. Now you look at all these things combined together. Because if you look at what has happened in this country, when the high and the mighty have security challenges, and you are shocked that, so we have a chopper that can, walk through the whole of Abuja, announcing the arrest of a criminal and the like, and all those stuff like that. Now that is one aspect of it. Now the banks too are not helping matters. Now there are policies in the bank. At what point in time will I move some volume of money without the bank notifying or without the bank talking about it, either to CBN or to DSS or to EFCC? Now also, the Ministry of Digital and Communication, you talked about us having BVN, you talked about us having NIM, and you also, I remember they also mentioned that it is also to prevent kidnapping and all those stuff like that. To what extent has this thing been able to work? In some of these organizations, you have a syndicated look. Calls can be traced by all network, all of them. There is no call that cannot be traced. There is no call, none that cannot be traced. There is none that does not have a GPS that can locate the exact location that the kidnappers are. So why is government not coming all out? How much are they going to spend
Mr. Ofoyetan,
compared to the ransom that is being collected?
Yeah. So from what you're describing now, the government has zero excuses for letting this thing fester for so long and letting it continue, not just in the FCT, even if I don't necessarily agree with your analysis on Lagos and kidnapping. Yeah, because there's the same federal government police that works here in Lagos. Lagos doesn't have its own special police force. And of course, the lives in Lagos aren't different from the lives in Enugu or the lives in Benue or the lives in Delta State. Same Nigerian lives. But from what you're saying and what you're describing, would you say that the Nigerian security agencies are complicit? They may be, somehow, some way, might be benefiting from this thing through the back door. And that's why it's difficult to get them to act, to trace these phone calls, to find out the location of these kidnap, gangs, to trace the money and find out where it's going. One of the reasons, of course, people maybe also celebrated the Naira, the change of the Naira, by Godwin Emefiele was people will also help with kidnapping. I'm sure that they mentioned that back then. So if we have all of these things in place, and of course we hear that the police every now and then brag about how they can capture anybody. Nnamdi Kanu was caught even outside Nigeria. There's almost nobody that they cannot trace and catch and capture whenever they need to. So would you maybe say or assume that there's some high level of complicity with Nigeria security agencies, and that's why this thing has continued to fester, and that's why kidnappers are not even so emboldened that they will kill their victims, they will demand higher ransom, and they don't have any fear whatsoever that they would be arrested or that they would be caught?
Well, let me say that I will not indict the security agencies wholly. Rather, I will put more of the blame on the political class, because the security agencies we are talking about, the final decision is not from them. And of course, Mr. President has the final decision. If Mr. President gives the Inspector General of Police and any of the service chiefs the marching order to say clear kidnappers from this state, from FCT or from Nigeria, if not so resign, and is able to give them the facilities they need to be able to do the job, it will shock you that whole thing we are talking about, kidnapping, whether for ransom or ritual, will reduce to the barest minimum. But we are talking of a society where Jonathan then, remember, said, even Boko Haram were in his cabinet. President Buhari didn't talk anything about it. Now we have President Tinubu. How are we sure that they don't have sleeper cells that have been operating and that are even in strategic position and power? Now, sleeper cells are those that are sympathetic to the cause of terrorism. Now, in the cause of being sympathetic, you are talking about terrorism financing. One of the means through which you finance terrorism is through kidnapping for ransom, through taxation of communities and all those stuff like that, and crimes and criminalities. Now, if in the unlikely event that you have any of these people in any strategic position or power in government, they will frustrate the effort of the security agencies. And apart from that too, inside the security agencies too, there are compromised sleeper cells too that divulge information that even lead to the attack. You saw what happened in Castina now. The attack, you call those ones hard attacks, not just hard target attack, military bases. It's something that speaks volume. Now, how were they able to? They have gotten information, and that information was processed to intelligence that now gave them the audacity and the impetus to be able to attack military bases. How did they get this information? Then the military should not look inward. Security agencies should look inward. Who are those that are compromising our information, our strategy, and our strategic approach to all these fights?
Mr. Ofoyetan.
It's only at that level that I think I will want to say, okay, let the security agencies look at themselves. There are individuals that can be greedy to just, yes, please.
Yeah, so here's the problem. Everybody knows these things. There's nothing, here that is, shocking. Every regular average, even the uneducated, should be able to, figure out these things, that this is a way to handle this thing. And yet, we still see that it's not being handled. We still see that, from what you're describing, these things have been going on, at least for the last 15 years. It's only just getting seemingly worse every now and then. And so, if a government is in office, if President Tinubu has been in office for, a couple of months now, and has still not been able to see it as important enough to give marching orders, if we always have to wait for him to give marching orders, or the heads of security agencies, have seen that they've been in office for long enough and they still are not being able to tackle these things, shouldn't they all resign? What else are they in office for? If they can, the president was in Imo State over the weekend. So what else are they in office for?
Okay. Well, I'm not a politician, so I will not delve into the political aspect of whether they should resign or they should not resign. I'm a Nigerian. I'm also a security professional. I understand the context from which you are looking at this, that look, if we elected you because we had a problem on ground, and it was one of the agendas you are talking about, trying to solve this problem. And, how many months down the line, we have not seen any improvement. Rather, what we are seeing are things that are either there or even worse than what was there. So what are you waiting for? And all those stuff like that. Now, but I would say that this government has 4 years. I'm not saying that it should be 4 years of tears, 4 years of sorrow, or that we should wait until we are all killed. But I think that, I agree with you to the extent that it is high time the president looked at the possibility of taking some very hard decision, irrespective of whose all is God. And what I expect Mr. President to do is go beyond the press briefing, daily briefing, security briefing that your either the NSA is giving you or your media team are giving you. Go to the people yourself, however you choose to do it, that will secure your life. Hear from the people directly, because in most cases, it is what the media aid want the president to hear, they will relate to him. It is what the NSA, the DSS want Mr. President to hear, that they will relate to him. Some of these things may not get to him, not because he does not want to know, but because by the virtue of what that office carries, he may not have that access to be able to hear, or even some of this conversation we are having. I expect that he should be intentional about getting raw information from the people. It is only at that point in time that he will be able to take some of these hard decisions. Because you are talking of hard decisions that will affect major security heads in this country. Now, if those decisions are taken once, twice, it will send signal to those that are not working the way they ought to work. And it will also send signal to those that are making business out of this terrorism, out of kidnapping and all those stuff, and they are in position or in corridor of power, either because they are charter commanders, or because they are military generals, or because they are high-power security professionals that have such, advantage. Now, if the Mr. President is able to go all out, get such raw information and raw data, it's easy for him to take that decision. In the absence of that, we may continue like this. I think the whole buck is going to stop on Mr. President's table. He has to take this hard decision. It is the hard decision that he takes that will send signal to all others that want to follow the same trajectory that we have been following and that has not been helping us.
I hope that,
but having said so,
all right, please, quickly land so we can wrap up, please.
No, I said, but having said so, it is not as if the security agencies too are not doing anything. They're doing a lot. We must give it to them. They're doing a lot. But the resources the government is giving them is not enough for them to come all out. I gave an example. I said, if the son of a VIP is kidnapped, for example,
you'll see more action.
The story will change.
Yeah.
At that point in time, all machineries and funds will be made available.
I mean, you've mentioned that you hope that the president would take such strong action. I hope that he knows that this strong action or this strong statement he needs to make, if he doesn't do it soon, more lives will be lost. Every day we're losing lives in Nigeria, and that's not the Nigeria of our dreams. Mr. Ofoyetan, thank you so much for joining us this morning on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's very sad reports that we have here, detailing the number of lives we're losing by the day as a result of kidnapping and insecurity in Nigeria.